For me, coaching in general is all about working with people to find the best of themselves. I think it's not about telling someone what to do. It's not about even teaching someone what to do. It's as a coach, I believe that everybody has the resources within themselves to fix most of their problems. Now, obviously there's some caveats to that, but let's just take that as a general to start off with. And then my job as a coach is to help them find those resources, is to gently nudge them in the right direction, and then create a road plan or a map or whatever you want to call it to take that forward into where they want to go.
Can you qualify as such as a life coach?
I think part of the problem we have in this day and age with the internet, James, is that there's lots of courses out there, ranging from give me $5 and I'll give you a piece of paper that'll say you're a life coach, to where I started off is with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I'm a certified practitioner and currently working towards my master practitioner.
But can potentially we all use our life experiences to help other people? I mean, is that part of being a life coach?
Absolutely, because I think some people are really good at that, and it generally comes down to people who are really good listeners, and that is one of the very basic, but actually one of the hardest skills you learn as a coach, is how to listen properly. And a lot of us think we're good at it, but actually when it comes to the coaching side of it, we're not as good at it as we think. It was a lesson I had to learn in coaching, was how to stop and listen, and a lot of my coaching sessions will be me being very silent. So I will ask a question that's relevant, and then I will just shut up and get out of the way. And that then allows the people I'm working with, it allows their mind and their brain to go where they need to go. So I'm just giving the nudge in the direction and then leaving the silence. But you are right, and we all know friends who, when we've struggled with things, we've gone and spoken to, because we know they'll listen to us and we know they will be helpful. The difference is, I think, between coaching and that is, quite often friends like that will then give you advice. They'll say, oh, do this or do that, or don't do this or whatever. Whereas coaching is not so much about giving advice in the true sense. Coaching is helping them to find the internal resources that they have. So my training in coaching is very much in how the mind works, how our thinking works, how our communication works, how the language we use with ourselves and with others works. And by knowing that, you can then teach that to others and then help them use those tools to help themselves. We're all very good at telling stories to ourselves, James, and it's a recognition that that's all they are, that they're stories, and realizing that our thinking is what causes a lot of the problem. So we're all very good at blaming someone or something for our problems, whereas a lot of the time it's actually the way we think about it, and by helping people to realize that, that really helps them. And I think that was the main feedback I got from the people I worked with, that by helping them change an awareness of how their thinking worked, they could then see a little bit of an easier and a better way out of the problems they struggled with.
You have experienced depression, anxiety yourself when you were going through difficult times. What support was there for you?
Initially, I found it really difficult, James, because there wasn't a lot. I mean, we're probably talking 15 years ago now, when certainly the talking services weren't there to the extent that they are now. And even now, I think, from some of the people I've worked with, I think they even still struggle, whether it's the Isle of Man, whether it's Ireland, where I am, there's just not enough services available. And certainly back then there was none. I was lucky, I had a good relationship with my GP. And then I was really lucky to find an NLP practitioner to work with, who I then further trained with. I was on antidepressants for a short period of time. I think sometimes we need that little bit extra to get our mind to the place where it can listen to someone else, because sometimes we can get so deep that we need that little bit of extra help. So I don't have a problem per se with antidepressants, but when you get to that level, then I think talking therapy of some form, whether it's psychotherapy, psychiatry, or if it's not as severe as that, with someone who can do talking therapy, NLP, CBT, there's a load of them out there now.
Tell me, for those people, because not everybody will be in a position to afford counselling, life coaching, what other online assistance, books, support services would you recommend?
I think it's difficult because there's such a plethora out there, and it's all very individual what works for you. So it's difficult to give a broad stroke, because it'll work for some people and won't for others. But one of the areas I work in a lot at the moment, James, is something called the 3 principles, which is very much how our mind works and how our thoughts work, and how our consciousness works. And all I can do is give you the two guys that I've learned a lot from, on that basis. It all goes back to a Scottish gentleman called Sydney Banks, and it's worth looking up some of his stuff and reading some of his stuff. And then there is a guy in London called Aaron Turner, and his website's called One Thought. And he speaks in a very simple way about how it works and how the mind works. And some of that sort of stuff is a good place to start. Start finding out how your brain does do things and how your thinking does do things. But I think the other thing I would say, James, the one caveat to all of that is, if you are struggling, is always get medical advice first. You know, don't think that your doctor's going to ignore you. If you feel that it's that bad, if you really are struggling, if you're having dark thoughts, always go and look for that, even if it's just going to your GP. I think that's really, really important.
Jenny has said previously that talking is the first step, the biggest step to start the whole process. And clearly, by the sounds of it, that's something you endorse wholeheartedly, is it?
100%. 100%. Even if you can't get to the life coach, find a friend who will listen. There's a wonderful little video by Brené Brown which shows the difference between empathy and sympathy, which is quite beautiful. And what people usually, in the situation that Jenny's describing and where I have been, is you're not looking for sympathy, you're looking for empathy. And empathy is not saying, there, it'll get better. Empathy is saying, yeah, I get you. I'm here for you. I'll listen. And that's sometimes all you need. Somebody who is a conduit that you can just talk through. They don't even have to give anything back. They just have to be open and willing and empathetic. And the video, the Brené Brown, it's a little animation, makes that very clear, the difference. And empathy is what you're looking for people who will listen to you, let you talk. If you can get someone who's trained, who can listen and help guide you, that's even better. But even just as a start, someone who you can talk to, who will listen and who's empathetic and non-judging.
I'd walk that extra mile, if only for a while. I could see the sunlight up your smile. Gone is my vanity, here is your dignity. If only I could somehow set you free. I take away all these tears. I take